Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Higher Grounds podcast and today's Morning Minute Meditation. I'm interested today in this idea, complaining versus pouring out my complaint. And I'm talking about when we're praying. Psalm 142 verse 1 and 2, I cried unto the Lord with my voice. With my voice unto the Lord did I make my supplication. I poured out my complaint before him. I showed before him my trouble. Complaining, Webster's dictionary, means to express grief, pain, or discontent, or to make a formal accusation or charge. Compared to our text, the phrase poured out, meaning to spill forth blood, a libation, to gush out, to pour out. And the complaint there is just all that you're thinking. So, just like pouring out a libation, David is pouring it all out. Everything that's in him, all he's thinking, all his fears, all his worries, everything. He's pouring it out before God, holding nothing back. It's all just gushing out of him. He's telling God of his trouble in verse 2. His turmoil in verse 3, my spirit was overwhelmed within me. His trap in verse 3, they laid a snare for me. His troops in verse 4, he's in a cave looking at his comrades and said, no man cared for my soul. So what's the difference between complaining and pouring out a complaint before the Lord? Well, first of all, when we complain, we're assessing blame before God. We are expressing our grief, pain, and discontent, but we're putting blame somewhere that we feel is the cause of it, and we may even be blaming God, whether we realize it or not. Whereas when we pour out a complaint before the Lord, we're expressing our grief, pain, and discontent, but we're not assessing blame. Number two, when we complain, our attitude is bad before God. When we're complaining, our attitude is bad, our mood is bad, our outlook is bad. When we pour out our complaint, it's not about attitude at all. It's about being gut honest with God, telling Him everything we're thinking and feeling. So what's the lesson for us to learn here? Well, I don't know about you, but I've caught myself on more than a few occasions, even this week, in prayer, complaining instead of pouring out my complaint. I was telling God all about it, all right. I also had a terrible attitude about it, and I was assessing God with the blame. We're better off and more likely to see God intervene in response to our prayers when we simply pour out our complaint before Him and tell Him all about it, let it all out, but with a good attitude, and allow Him to assess blame if there's any blame to be assessed at all. Well, that's all for today's Morning Minute Meditation. Y'all have a great day, and remember, it is what it is.